Is a real news story. It's not a joke. A legislator in California has introduced legislation that, if it passes, will impose prison time on people who fail to use other people's preferred pronouns. State Senator Scott Wiener's bill would apply to nursing homes and other elderly care facilities and would impose up to a year in prison on caregivers who, quote, willfully and repeatedly fail to use a transgender resident's preferred name or pronouns. Robin Biro is a Democratic strategist. He supports all this. He joins us tonight. Robin, thanks for coming on. So it doesn't sound very American, the idea that you go to jail if you say something someone else doesn't want you to say. Don't we have a Bill of Rights that would prevent that?
Absolutely, the First Amendment. And let me say this, I want to expose my own ignorance to this issue. I myself was ignorant to this issue until I actually read the bill and got informed. And what I found out in the bill, it actually says that there was a 2011 survey, which that's a bit dated, but it did show that there were 6,456 respondents, and 28% of those suffered harassment, actually, from medical providers. 19% of those, these are LGBT elders, they had been denied care. So that necessitated this bill. I would assert, let's be fair, that I think you're cherry picking, because this bill is not just about transgender use of pronouns and all that. It's about all of LGBT rights being included in the patient's Bill of Rights that's posted on the doors.
So I'm sure there are lots of things I would agree with in the bill, and just to be totally clear, I think you should call people what they want to be called. You know, I mean,
sure.
I think you should be polite to people, and I try to be. But there's a principle at stake here that you're ignoring for political reasons, and I'm a little surprised that you are. And that is a really simple one. It's called free speech, and you have the right to express your view. And if other people don't like it, they don't like it. But you can't be put in prison for saying what you think is true. And this bill seems to ignore that long-standing right that we've enjoyed, and I find it terrifying for that reason.
And I knew you were going to say that. I will contend that these are employees. They are regulated by the government. They already have a patient's Bill of Rights that addresses some of these. What's left out are protections for the LGBT community. They are already, let's look at this, Tucker, if you will. The elderly community is already a marginalized community. But think about the fact, if you are LGBT or even, like the worst, transgender, they're probably the most disenfranchised. They are the most vulnerable. And I want to say this, just consider, if you will, I myself am openly gay. Say 30 years from now, I've been in a relationship for a couple decades, and this bill wasn't in place, it would deny my partner the ability to come and visit me, because a nurse might have a problem with it.
No, but again, you're skirting the point that I'm making, which is this bill criminalizes speech. If you use the wrong word, you can be put in jail. That is grotesque. And I understand that you're enthusiastic about expanding rights for LGBT elders, okay? But why in the world would you, as an American who once wore the uniform, support a bill that would criminalize speech?
Because elder abuse is inherently wrong. And I will read the bill. It says...
No, slow down. Speech is not abuse.
No, I'm talking about abuse. This is, understand this, misusing someone's pronoun is abuse. We see all the time people do this as a form of abuse. I follow the alt-right blogs where they call Michelle Obama a man. That is abusive.
Should they go to jail for that?
Should not be accepted.
Should they go to jail for that?
But if it's done in a medical thing, what constituted, hold on, what constituted, Tucker, is prolonged, continuous, intentional abuse by a healthcare provider. That is abuse. That should be criminal.
It should be criminal. Okay, what about thinking it? What if I have unpleasant thoughts about you and you could somehow find out I had them? Should I go to jail too? Is that abuse as well?
No, that's human nature. That's human nature.
But using the wrong pronoun should get me. How many times? Okay, how many? Well, abuse is a subjective term. We're not talking about physical abuse. We're talking about saying something the person hearing it doesn't like.
Mental abuse.
Mental abuse, right? Which is a totally subjective category. Once again, how many times would I have to misuse a pronoun before I went to prison?
It has to be, I already gave you the 3 criteria, prolonged, continuous, intentional abuse by a healthcare provider. There has to be a history of it.
Let's stop using euphemisms here and just get to the core facts. How many times would I have to misuse a pronoun before the police came, handcuffed me, and sent me to a prison cell?
It's not just a pronoun. Like I said, you're cherry picking. This also
cherry
is
picking.
denying.
That's what it does. Lots of no. But the bill says a lot
because
of things.
The bill,
but I'm specific.
Yes.
No, but it also says what I'm saying. It says. I'm not making this up. So it says a lot of things. Sure. But what I care about is the criminalization of speech. And I'm asking you a very simple question. How many times do I need to use the wrong pronoun before police with guns show up at my house and handcuff me and deprive me of my freedom and throw me in a prison cell? How many times? 4 times? 5 times? How many times?
That has not been. I posted the entire bill on my Twitter at Robin Biro. You can read the entire bill. That does not say a specific number.
Look,
I will say that.
You're dodging it. You're dodging it. And last question. There are a lot of things that I don't like to hear. People call me names. I find it abusive. I have mental anguish as a result, let's say. Should they go to jail for that?
If they are your healthcare provider and they do it intentionally to mentally abuse you, and it's stated on the wall in the Healthcare Bill of Rights, yes. Yeah. And if they do it over and over
deliberately, when did you get in favor of?
Yes.
These are like minimum wage workers, and you're like, you know what I mean, bullying them basically. It's so weird. I wonder. I hope you'll watch this tape when this is over and ask yourself if you're really on the right side of this question. Because it used to be like people had their opinions, they could express them, and no one threatened to send them to jail.
Listen, like I said, I didn't used to be on the right side of this issue, but I read the bill and educated myself.
I read it
and
too,
I get it.
And it scared me. Okay, thanks, Robin. I appreciate it.